Good evening, one and all present here. I am very happy to connect with you all. I would like to thank Dr. Subhashri, who is my colleague, and she's also going to share different views on stress. I would like to thank Sir Joseph sir, for giving me this opportunity to speak on the challenges of teachers in handling high school students. Probably I might take 40 minutes session, and there are a few slides I have prepared, and it will be, I will be presenting it. If you have, I just would like to have some instruction before I start. You can always use a chat box for raising any kind of questions, which is very much related to the topic. And also you can have another options for answering questions. Like I think I will also show, like you can use this annotate. Then if you want to text anything, I have some plain slides for texting. You can use this, and you can also use to draw or erase anything. Then format also can be used when there is a yes or no question, something like that. Whatever way you want to do it, and you can do it. Then I am very much open for listening to your views also. Though I have been working in schools, I know in and out of schools, but still the trend is changing. I am very much willing to learn from other participants too. So to begin with, I'm just showing the slide. When you see the slide, what comes to your mind? This is a human lifespan development from the childhood. That when we talk about human lifespan development, even before that, prenatal development, infancy, then childhood, early and late childhood, and this is where the adolescent process or adolescent stage comes. Then they enter into young adulthood, middle-aged, and later adult. So this is the lifespan all of us going through. What I would like to say is each and every lifespan development is very, very important in our life. So we have a lot of, sometimes we have very positives about the particular lifestyle, particular life stage. And also sometimes we also experience some negative. We store it in our mind, but still we have to process through each stage comfortably. That is where the adolescent stage is also very, very important. So when I talk about adolescent, so all of you should have this picture, because we are going to talk about high school students, especially those who are just coming from the primary school, entering into 6th or 7th standard. From that time onwards till 10th standard, that is the age group I would like to focus on. This is the very important period. It's a lovely period, but they also go through a lot of challenges. So you can also use now text. What are the challenges when handling adolescents? So if you could try some of the challenges in general to deal with adolescents. Can you share some views on that? Yeah, there is a hormonal change. Somebody has written hormonal changes, a lot of very good. Then there are exam stress, and there is so concern about a social safety, a lot of changes in our body. Yeah, and they are resistant. Yeah, sometimes you feel they are lazy. There are a lot of pressure to perform well in academics. Yeah, this is where the teacher challenges. Teacher is always concerned about peer pressure. Very good. Thank you so much. Teachers are very much concerned about the adolescents' academic performance, and they are also concerned about behavioral issues of adolescents. So before going to understand about this, we have some of the basic information I would like to remind you. Usually when there is a lot of pressure, when there is a situation around, we forget about some of the basic facts about adolescents. So I would like to bring 4 basic idea about adolescents. One is about a transition period. Transition means they are entering from one phase of life to another phase of life. That is a transition period. Usually the transition period is a very troublesome period, or people say it is a very challenging period. They are not, they are neither called child nor adult. So that is the period of change, transition period. Usually the age group, when you see the age group, it comes around from 12 onwards till 1920. That is the age. They have to do the 10th standard, 12th standard, and the selection of their own choices of their own subjects, and also their career. All those are there. There's a transition period. Then second one is about the range of maturity. So when you think about maturity, what comes to your mind? Matured, he is matured, she is matured. When we think about maturity, does the age comes in mind? Or what is your idea about it? Maturity doesn't come out of age, it is only out of their experience. When they experience, this is the period they explore a lot of opportunities. When they experience something, that will lead to maturity. That is the second point I would like to remind. Then third one is there is a time of physical, emotional, and social change. Physical change, all of us know, somebody has commented also, a lot of hormonal changes. And there is a lot of changes in their bone structure, the body image, that they have to accept. They might like it, they may not like it. And also there is a change in emotional status, how ups and downs. There are you can always see them, sometimes you can see them very low, and sometimes you can see them very, very high. So a lot of ups and downs in their emotions, a lot of emotions. Each emotion, they may express it in a different way. And also how they relate with other people, social change. How suddenly they give a lot of importance for friends, but they are not giving importance for parents. Sometimes they may not be in a position to give importance for their own people, like family, friends. Then the fourth thing is about many demands, like a lot of demands on them. Here you can try out some of the demands. The next slide you can write about how do you measure the maturity level of high school students? You can just comment on it. And also you can write about what are the demands placed by school, and demands placed by peer, and demands placed by society. Any other demand you can think of? Even this previous slide, you can think of one more pressure on this child. You can think about that. So can you name a few challenges so that we can proceed further? Maturity comes from experience. Thank you, Ashreep Kaur, for this information, and how we will go and live in socially at school, how we can face it. Yeah. Then peer pressure, a lot of psychological changes, and about from the family situation, what are the challenges they face? They face a lot of demands from school. What kind of demands? Like teacher is expecting a child to behave in a particular way. School is expecting a child to behave in a particular way. And if it is not behaved, or if they are not able to do it, or they are discouraged by it, they are facing some consequences for it. Even peers, they are experiencing whether I am accepted in that group or I am not their part of the group. So that is another challenge for them. And from societal pressures, a lot of pressures, how they have to behave in a particular situation, in a family function or family situation, how they have to behave themselves. And any other demand I have asked about the parents. So I have listened to a lot of parents talking about their adolescents. I just want to give one example. Like one example I want to give you. Like one of the, very recently I had this child, adolescent girl, and she was always exploring a lot of different hairstyles. So mother got so upset about it because she was saying, well, she's only in 8th standard, 9th standard now. Why she's so much thinking about hairstyle? Always she's engaged. So she took my daughter and cut her hair. What do you think about it? Is it a right way of dealing with the child? That is where parents need a guidance. That is where teacher need a guidance. Teacher may not be doing this, but in academic performance or how the child is being pressurized, that is also there. So the maturity level of students are being measured by a lot of experiences, or it can also be measured by a lot of exploration opportunities. So that we have to think. Thank you for your sharing. Yeah. Next one, this when you see it, this is a brain development. Just I want to make a note about it. See, when a 5-year-old child, they have a development like this. This red and yellow parts, it shows about it's not mature. So as they grow in brain development, there is a maturity. That's what they have founded. there is a maturity. As they grow, the way they perceive the information, for example, when I say cognition, the child receives information and the process the information and try to behave and whatever the way he or she wants to behave. So that leads a lot of time, that helps them to understand about the surrounding, understand about the people around. So they get into maturity like this. Around 20 years of age, they are getting the fully matured brain where the maturity is completely comes to in place. So when we think about a teacher's role, I hope some of the teachers would have been participating. So from my perspective, or from my whatever my experience, I am sharing only two basic and also very vast experiences as a teacher. One is I will be concentrating more on academic performance, and another one is I will be concentrating more on how well I'm able to help the child to do well in the surrounding, or in the classroom, or outside the classroom, in school or at home, like that. So when you see this picture, this is the picture, maybe some of you would have seen it. So all of them are in the same test, but what is that? The test is they have to climb the tree. Who will be climbing very fast? So when you see this picture, you will know we have students of different varieties in the classroom. Say for example, 30 to 40 numbers in a class. Like you will see different varieties or unique abilities of children around. That is something amazing. We have to see and rejoice with them, because they are differently talented. They are able to accommodate themselves to a new change. They are very, very different from each other. This is about, but in school, what are we looking for? We are only looking for report cards. Mother is so much concerned, father is so much concerned about report card. What is your grade? A plus, A minus, what is that? Or if you are in C, that's it, gone. You are not fit for that particular class. A lot of stress or emotional disturbances with the parents. So like this, when you see the academic performance, there are a lot of challenges like this. Now again, shall we discuss about when you think about teachers, as a teacher, what is my role in inculcating academic performance? As a teacher, what is my role in behavioral management? These two things, if you are very clear about it, I think we will be in a better position to handle any age group, especially adolescents. Because adolescents, this is the period where they have a tremendous change, but it is not so with the other stages. In spite of the tremendous changes, they are able to accommodate themselves for new challenges in academic and also in behavioral management. If somebody can try on this also. There is also a question about how children will make new friends, especially when they face problem in having friends from opposite sex, the lateral phasia, maybe known as electro-oligodystoplasia. Yeah, this is, I'll be explaining about social development, how the social development for the child. That is the area you will have to understand when they form friendships. So I will explain that little later. Any other question? Yeah, shall we proceed? So next one is about, this is the, I just want to. So academic performance, like grades, I have to produce a particular grade in the classroom, and I have to see all my students are able to understand whatever I am teaching in the class. This is a teacher's role. Then I want to see everybody is doing their written work. I want to see all children are getting pass mark, and most of them should be getting above average marks. These are the expectations from the teacher. In behavioral management, this class is well-behaved class. If I'm a class teacher of A section or B section, if everybody says they have a lot of behavioral problem, it bounces back on the teacher sometimes. So there are a lot of issues on behavioral management. So what is my role as a teacher to understand about academic and also behavioral management? So for academic, first let me take a few things on academics, like for example, intelligence. So all of us have an idea about intelligence. Sometimes we say he's very intelligent, he's not so intelligent. So we are having a lot of difference of opinion. But Wechsler's definition is file a definition, and also he talks about a global capacity of the person, how purposefully he is able to think, and how efficiently and effectively he can adapt himself for a new change. For any change, he is able to contribute. That is the intelligence. Gardner's theory talks about multiple intelligence, and so basically, intelligence means the general ability to do all cognitive tasks. When I say cognitive, I mean a thinking process. How well the information is getting inside, and how well the child is able to process the information, how well the child is able to use the information for making any decisions, and adapting to a very new environment. All those matters when you think about intelligence. So teachers should be definitely knowing some idea about intelligence. We can't say all children are of equal intelligence. There are different intelligence varies from person to person, or some may be very good in certain aspects of intelligence, some may not be, but still we have varieties of children in our own classroom. This is basically about IQ. When you see children, those who are intelligent quotient is a little lower. So normally they are capable of grasping information is also a little lower. So naturally they will be interested to study where they want to perform. For example, say they may not like math subject, they may not like science subject. Sometimes they may not like any other subject also. So based on their intelligence and motivation, they try to adapt themselves to learn some new concepts. So usually when you see a classroom, in a classroom, you will see almost around 50 to 60% of the students. If your school has a good way of segregating students, usually majority of the classroom, they have intelligence of average intelligence, that is 90 to 110. So this average intelligence, they are able to grasp very well. They can also memorize, they can do a lot of stuff. But when you think about beyond and also below this average, there will be some struggles. So it doesn't mean that we can, we don't have anything to do there. We have a lot of stuff to do there, because those who are having little higher IQ, they have to have a lot of competitive tasks for them. Who are lower IQ, they need some repetition, but they will be able to understand the concepts very clearly. This we have to understand it. The next one is about a learning style. Each child has different learning style. How does it develop? It's based on their own experience. Some children are very, very visual. When you think about learning by visually seeing, like they have to see charts and graphs, they have to see the lesson outline, they have to see the picture aids, then they learn faster. Some children are very much auditory by hearing. For this kind of children, they need discussions. They have to hear from other people. They have to listen to some of the verbal instructions, and they have to read it aloud. They have to hear it. That is where they learn. And there are certain other groups of children, like they can only do by reading and writing. They are self-motivated. They want to do everything by themselves. Like if you give them assignment, they will be enjoying it. This set of learning style, those who are having this style. But others, visual learners, they will not enjoy the assignments. But this group, they will enjoy the assessment. They will try to read from the newspaper and give out some of the inputs from there. Then kinesthetic learners, they learn by doing. Tactile sensation is very high. They want hands-on experience. They want to explore. They have to do it. Then they will learn. So these are the four different learning style people have. In a classroom, you can see 20 to 30% of each of these learning styles. So now are you able to understand what the teacher's role is? Something very bigger, like you have to accommodate yourself for visual learners, auditory learners, intrapersonal, or those who are doing interested, self-motivated children, and there is also kinesthetic learners. So as a teacher, I will have to design my syllabus so that it can adapt all the learners at a particular time. Then this is what the study says, like how well the retention rates are. This is the famous study, that's why I want to show this. Like by lecture, they receive only 5%. And also by reading, 10%. By discussion, 50% of the content they are able to retain very well. Then 90% when they teach others. So these are the different methods. I hope teachers must be knowing about all this auditory and visual and kinesthetic learners, and also about the retention rate. Some are very actively learning, some are very passive. you can see them very playful in the class, but when you ask question, they will be in a position to answer. That means they are listening, but they are not listening the way we want them to listen. That is the only difference. The other different other factors for academic performance, I can talk about the motivation first of all. Like, does the child motivated to learn? What is his intrinsic motivation? The child motivated by himself. Oh, this is a good topic. Let me know it. The curiosity, whatever we are teaching, it improves the curiosity of the child. Then there are stimulating a home environment. There is also a very friendly environment at home. Mommy or daddy or people around in a home are encouraging him to learn, read. That is also there. Then self-regulation and social support in the classroom also important factors which improves the performance, or sometimes it may obstruct the performance too. So in adolescence, especially, we have to create a sense of motivation in students. That is very much needed for adolescent students, because they need motivation, because they are going through a lot of challenges along with the so many challenges around them. They need motivation to do a particular stuff. I'm receiving a lot of parents with the 10th standard kid or 9th standard kid. They say, my child is not motivated to study at all. So when there is a pressure formed inside the child that I have to do it, if the child is motivated that I will be doing, then the child will be able to do it. That motivation is completely with the hands of teachers and also with the hands of parents. Then as a teacher, this is the maximum which is expected out of you. That's what I can say, because when you are inculcating a proper study skills, some part of the study skills should also be enhanced through parenting, but there are several other study skills you can motivate children to do it, especially for this in the adolescent group. The study skills, when you improve the study skills, you don't need to tell them very often, you have to study this and come, you have to study this. No, you have to just tell them, read, tomorrow you come and take a small test, like five questions, so they can write on their own. There is a constant motivation, and all the distractions are taken care when they have proper study skills, especially notes taking and also mind mapping. Mind mapping plays a major role in the study skills. Like they can do it a very tough concepts in 9th and 10th standard. Their concepts are very, very tough. So in tough concepts also, you can use mind maps and they learn it. So it is not expected that children have to learn the whole lessons and also all the content, but whatever is motivating them or whatever is very essential, so they can do it, and they can also motivate, they can get motivated. The second aspect of it is, I'm talking about a behavioral aspect. That's what sir has asked one question about that. Like, before understanding it, there is a big blow on parenting. Like so far that my child has been helping me to understand several things. So far my child is very much fine. Now suddenly I'm seeing some behaviors which is I'm not okay with that. I'm so tensed about it. That is what as parents we also sometimes go through. But this particular age, more than parents, this is the age where they look for friendship because of several reasons. There is an immense need for them for intimate relationship. They have a need for that, but how well they are accommodating to it, that is where they need some guidance. They are very, when you see them at 7th standard, 8th standard, they will be very much comfortable with their own sex groups. Like all girls will be so close with girls, boys will be so close with boys. They have their own jokes. They have small cliques. Even in one group, there will be small cliques here and there. So they enjoy giggling and all those things will be there. But once they are crossing that, then they will also be interested in opposite sex. That's naturally they are, because of hormonal changes, they are naturally interested to know about the opposite sex. There is nothing wrong about it. But how well they are able to do it. Now you know about social media, a lot of struggles what the young people are going through. So in that be the case, they have to know where is my boundary. That boundary should be laid by the school and also by the family members. That is where the social development. So this is the period they literally, their image of self is changing. Who am I? What am I doing? Whether I'm accepted here or not. Even without liking it, they would engage themselves in a particular behavior for the appreciation from their own peers. It is very much possible. That is where they learn some habits which they are not able to come out of it little later also. Because only for protecting their own image of self, and also they are feeling very happy about it, because I am part of the group. I am one among them. I like them. There are a lot of social media. You can watch a lot of movies. They are just portraying it. It's very important. But where is the boundary? That is where they need some help. And this is one aspect of it, how they are relating to the social group, how they are relating to the other people. But there is also the another development, emotional and social development together. When I say together, these are the common emotions they experience, but they may not be in a position to express the emotions in a right way. For example, angry. When I take angry, there might be a mild irritation, and there might be other rage, that much anger. It should be a mild or to the greater extent, and lightly very unhappy about it, then they end up with sadness. So likewise, there are a lot of positive and negative emotion. It's based on how much they experience the social development, that much they experience the emotional development. But where do they have place to experience all this? Whether schools are agreeing, whether parents are agreeing, whether society is agreeing, that is where they need help. They need help where to ventilate what kind of emotion appropriately, how to express the right emotions appropriately, how to control the behavior, how to control the impulsive behavior. Their impulsivity usually high. If they want to do it, they want to do it immediately. They don't worry about the consequences of it. That be the case, they will have some struggles related to emotions too. So that I would like to remind you about the Erikson's theory on this, like especially in adolescent, industrious, they are just developing a sense of competence by exploring so many opportunities. They explore at school, they explore at their own colony, they explore at home, lot of opportunities around. But if there are a lot of negative connotation from the family members or teachers or peers, they get into a very strong negative feeling. That may be difficult for the child to understand. So to answer Sir's question, like this entering into a relationship or entering into a friendship in a different way, sometimes it is possible. So where do they draw the line or boundaries? That is where they are becoming competent in successfully crossing this particular stage. So as a whole, when we think about this, this is what exactly an adolescent is going through. Physiological changes. Because of physiological changes, there are a lot of sensorial needs. Because of that, their confidence level goes up and comes down. There are a lot of previous experience, how I am viewed by parents and others, and there is a family background. There is also personality beginning to grow in them. Then emotional responses, and there is a formation of self-concept. They're exploring skills, abilities. Their attention is getting diverted. They explore all the opportunities around. That is where they are also framing their own self-esteem. Sometimes those who are experiencing a lot of negative connotation from the parents and also from the teachers, they will begin to suffer from low self-esteem. That is also there. So this is what the child is going through. So I want to give you some tips for this, like for academic performance, study skills, and also how you are able to bring about a concreteness in teaching. That is where you are successful as teachers. And also for behavioral aspect, there is also few things you can administer in the class, like some common classroom rules you can discuss always with adolescents, like what is that expected in the classroom, and what is if they are misusing that particular space, then how they will be handled. There are 5 things I have just put a picture on that. One, either first you talk to them very friendly. If you are very friendly with them, you can make them do anything, and also they want to be friendly. They also want to be very close to teachers. Sometimes they will listen to them very carefully, and they will they will connect they will create the interest. They will have the interest later, but the relationship with the teacher is very important. Relationship with the parents are very important. That is where you can talk to them very friendly, and also they need some firm instruction. So firm instruction means it should be a consistent, firm instruction. If they are not obeying first time, then it can be taken lightly. But when they are not repeatedly obeying, it has to be taken very firm thing. Then there are few other simple behaviors that can sometimes be ignored. Sometimes it need not be taken into a very big issue. But if the particular behavior is leading to a very big, so many other behaviors, then definitely they need some behavioral intervention. At the school level, teachers can use a lot of new techniques like token economy. It's a very old technique, but there are several other new techniques out there, like to make them do, or there are a lot of positive reinforcement techniques are there. We can share a lot of things on that. So that can also be used by teachers. And even sometimes little positive punishment, negative punishment, it can also be used to enhance the particular behavior or reduce the occurrence of the particular behavior. That can be used. If the behavior is wrong for a long period, like wrong behavior, so it has to be observed. There should be a warning. Then after warning, there should be a discussion about it. Then what are the different choices the child can take, and what are the different consequences the child can take. This is the simplest way you can just administer with the children in the classroom. If the child is not able to accommodate himself for changes or any kind of instruction, and he needs some other behavior intervention, that the child can be referred also. This is what I heard from some of the high school teachers. I just interviewed a few of them, and I come to know about this. They say teachers, this is from teachers, they say if there is a parental involvement in attending any meetings, or parental involvement in helping the child, if the parental involvement is good, then naturally the child is able to do better. That is what they are seeing from experienced, so far experience. And many parents are saying, it seems, there is no time for me. I'm too much occupied. I'm so busy. I don't have time for myself even. Please take care of my child. So teacher can do one part of it. There is a bigger part of it that parents also should be doing. That is what the teachers view. Then she talked about, one of the teachers talked about uninvolved parenting style. Like naturally, okay, my child is going to school. Okay, everything is taken controlled by the school itself. So he comes, I only take care of his physical needs. No, it's not like that. Where is the child going? What is the social media child is using? What is the boundary the child is crossing? All that should be known by parents even. So there are some children, those who already have problems at home, either with parents or parent-in-laws or grandparents, or those kind of problems that can also be influenced. That can also influence the behavioral issue. So social media, I just put it like this, so that social media has actually turned them upside down positively, sometimes most of the time negatively, when there is an excessive usage of social media. That's what the teachers view. Then finally, I think I have 5 more minutes. So finally, what I would like to say is, as teacher, your subject knowledge, and as teacher, your the way you teach, the methodology you adopt to teach, and your emotional intelligence. That is where your success is. Because emotional intelligence, how well you are able to carry out your own emotion and understand other students' emotions and balance it with the subject knowledge and the teaching methodologies, you can be a very successful teacher. These are all my sharing. And if you have anything more, please share. Thank you so much.